It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy.
It's time to take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast and on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and more than 15 podcast platforms. We also invite you into the studio each week via YouTube. Subscribe and watch each episode on our YouTube channel at Turner O'Neill Podcast. Thanks to our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. And our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by me, DJ Krissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Here's your host, Kurtis Cross.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Kurtis Cross, your host, and with me as always is Coach Steve Turner. Coach Casey O'Neill is here as well. Our engineer is DJ Krissy, and together we welcome you into the studio for this week's episode. Our premier partner for Season 2 is Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray is a friend of the program, and he is the only mortgage lender we endorse right here at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ray Cruz is mortgage intelligently. We'd like to thank our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and the Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. This week, the NHL takes center stage with Tarik El-Bashir, the senior writer at The Athletic for Washington Caps Hockey. But first, fellas, how are we doing this week?
Doing great. Weather is unbelievable today. I'm in shorts. I can't believe I'm in shorts. But just excited. Mental Health Monday. And we got March Madness going on, so it's been an unbelievable weekend for me, watching all this hoops and ready to get back to watching some more this evening.
Coach O'Neill.
One thing with that weather is it'll trick you in the morning still here in March.
Oh, yeah, it's a little chilly.
Go
a little
out there, because I know you take your dog out
It's
in
a
the
little
morning.
chilly. It's a little chilly.
And you go out there. It's a little, don't be fooled, but this afternoon, gorgeous. March Madness. I gotta start with the puppy talk. This thing is not 3 months yet, just almost at 3 months, at 12 weeks. 33 freaking pounds this
Let's
dog
go.
is. 33 pounds.
I've seen
Shaq,
the ears.
baby.
That's
You
gonna
saw
be
the
a-
picture of her with another 11, 12-week-old golden retriever and another 11, 12-week-old black lab, and she's just like Godzilla, just like falling all over this thing.
Girly Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal. It's part of the name.
There you go.
It's part of the name.
We need to tell our audience that we have basically a clean-shaven Coach O'Neill this week.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day arrived, and he chopped it off.
Folks, Christmas is St. Patrick's Day. That red beard comes out and then shave it off. I showed you some pictures. Had a little fun.
Please, don't make me talk about that.
A little mustache, a little goatee. But this weekend, Steve, I was outside. The little one was riding the bike. I got the porch organized, the screen porch.
Right.
I know you like to get things organized when weather gets better, right, Krissy? You like to make sure everything's ready to go.
Try to.
The snow's not coming anymore. But I got it organized. The porch was ready to roll.
Krissy, DJ Krissy, how was the weekend, young lady?
You know, just got outside, had some good times, little walk, went down Beach Drive. That was nice. It was beautiful outside.
It was great.
You had to. I mean, if you stayed inside, it was sad.
Shame on you, right?
Celebrated a birthday this weekend.
Well,
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
There's excuses, though, for people that want to stay inside because it's March Madness. They're watching hoops all day long, and there were some great ups. Oh, no, you weren't watching March Madness?
Krissy knocked that back.
The March Madness is on Beach Drive on your walk. That's your
That's
March
what
Madness.
headphones are for. You can listen to it. That's okay.
There you go.
All right. Once again, we had more than 3,000 listens and views for last week's episode 11. Brian Kelly of Calvert Hall Lacrosse. If you missed that inside look at Calvert Hall Lacrosse and the MIAA conference, be sure to go back and check out episode 11 with Coach Brian Kelly. Before we go to break, we have a couple of matters to get to. We had a couple of birthdays this past weekend. Coach Turner, care to send out some birthday cheer?
It was my mama's birthday.
Sure was.
Happy birthday, Clorinda. Love you, Mom.
And big shout out to Mama D, my mother-in-law. Diane celebrated a birthday this weekend, same day as your mother's birthday. We did dinner, cake, balloons, and we now have a new smart TV. You guys were part of that process, right? Over Zoom. We're going to hang that smart TV on her wall as her birthday gift.
Good stuff.
Also, Lakers legend Mr. Elgin Baylor passed away today, a D.C. native who played for Phelps Vocational School and later dropped out only to return a year later to Spingarn High School, where he set the D.C. area high school scoring record with 63 points in one game against his former school, Phelps. In that game, he scored 32 points in the first half, and in the second half, playing with 4 fouls the entire half, scored another 31 points for a total of 63. He averaged 31 points and 19 rebounds in 3 college seasons. As an NBA pro, Baylor played his entire 14-year career at the Minneapolis and Los Angeles Lakers. Averaging 27 points and 13 rebounds per game, Baylor was an 11-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, 10-time All-NBA First Team, and a member of the NBA's 35th and 50th anniversary teams. His number 22 jersey hangs at the Staples Center, retired as an all-time great with the Lakers franchise. Elgin Baylor passed today at the age of 86 from natural causes. Let's hit our first break, and we will be back with this week's headline.
Next Level Lacrosse. Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs. We stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic. From beginning programs to rec leagues, travel clubs to summer programs, we develop the young and experienced players alike. Next Level Lacrosse has a rich tradition of running the best middle and high school lacrosse leagues in the DMV area. You'll find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com or call 240-497-1460.
Let's get social. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube, search Turner and O'Neill and click subscribe. Winsight Media. Winsight delivers connections and intelligence to 4 of the fastest growing verticals: convenience retailing, grocery businesses, restaurants, and non-commercial food service through broad and cutting-edge platforms. No company is better positioned to meet the food industry's needs than Winsight. Connect with us at www.winsightmedia.com.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Shane Benson, Todd Bradley, Paula Cross, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Daniel Richard, Noah Richard, Andrea Terronez. If you'd like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. One Headline is brought to you by
Healthy Baller is dedicated to developing athletes at any level through customized programs created by our world-class trainers. Healthy Baller creates an unparalleled training experience centered around the athlete and coach relationship. Between our physical therapy team and strength and conditioning staff, we create an all-encompassing process to help injured athletes return to the field. Become your own success story. We offer group and team training, individual workouts, or semi-private training. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill.
Welcome back to Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. Today's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. One thing I want to say, it's great to have a real good engineer. Like, we're just chatting it up, and when it's time to come back, she's like, last commercial, let's go. She's on it. DJ Krissy, you're always on it.
I'm blessed.
This week's headline, with LeBron and AD out of the Lakers lineup for several weeks now, what does this do to change the NBA playoffs race? Coach Casey.
With the NCAA at the forefront, it feels like I forgot a little bit about your beloved NBA. But with this going on and certainly seeing the script today, the Lakers, they're in a tough spot.
A tough spot, brother.
Tough spot. Teams like the Nuggets, the Clippers, Trailblazers are going to slowly inchworm. And it's going to put the Lakers in a position they don't want to be in because they're going to be playing
away.
Yeah. They're going to be playing teams they don't want to play in the first round. However, as a coach and tested that they've been, and you get those two guys healthy, man, it's just going to test them. They're going to have to get through those situations. You're shaking your head over there, Coach Turner. Sometimes teams have to do that. They have to just step up, play who you play. It's not ideal. And I know you. I see the shirt you're wearing today.
Finally
2020 champs. But this is not good for them. But, man, if you want it, you can play whoever.
What you got, Coach?
They're still the champs. You're still the champs until somebody knocks you off.
If they are the champs and when they're healthy, they're the best.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who they're playing.
That's kind of what I said.
No, because you're saying it's going to be
It's not good. You don't want to be on the road, but
is it a disadvantage?
But you play who you play.
But
you play who you play. And you figure out all those moves they made after winning a championship.
On the road with no fans doesn't mean anything anymore. We know that. And do you want to be that team that doesn't want to have to play them early, and now you're going to be stuck playing them early? that could be another headache for somebody else. Absolutely. The Jazz don't want to play a healthy Lakers team in the first round. The number one seed doesn't want to play them. And that's what I'm saying.
Somebody's
going to have to play them early, and that's not what they want.
NBA also has what? They're taking a total of 10, right? So there's almost like playing playoff basketball, right? I mean, they could creep into that because the West has better depth of teams from seed 7 to 10 than the East certainly does.
Don't go beyond that. Because the Rockets are beyond that.
Well, that comes up later. I read my notes.
Lakers are in a tough spot. We're going to need, I think they need to do something before Thursday, the trade deadline. I think they need to pick up another 6'9", 6'10" body just to gobble up some rebounds. Marc Gasol hadn't played in 2 weeks. Taylor Horton-Tucker looks halfway decent for a 19-year-old. Kuzma's going to have to step up, and you know who's going to get minutes? Montrez.
Yeah.
Montrez is going to get a ton of minutes. I expect him to be a double-double guy.
I think it's going to help them because some guys who may have to step it up when the playoffs do come are going to get some minutes and feel a little more comfortable out there.
And we're going to see what the coach is made of out there.
Yeah.
We will see what Mr. Vogel is made of.
Vogel's not the coach. LeBron is the coach.
There you go.
Jason Kidd got an offer from a college, by the way, to come coach down there. But we'll see. It's going to be tough.
Nervous?
I'm not nervous. At worst case, we'll get a 6th spot, 5th or 6th spot.
Right.
And AD will be back. LeBron will be back. They'll be out a few weeks. I don't think a few weeks is going to hurt our chances to make the playoffs.
How many games do you figure they miss?
They're going to miss 10 or 12.
Okay.
They're going to miss 10 or 12. LeBron's going to be back in 3 to 4 weeks. And, depending if we get a 3-day off here, a 3-day off there, and not a ton of back-to-backs, you're playing 3 games a week, sometimes 4. So if he's gone 3 weeks, that could be 9 to 12 games. That's 9 to 12 games, my brother.
Makes it fun. Makes it interesting.
Definitely does, but I'm not going to get my money's worth out of my NBA League Pass. That's the problem. I'm going to watch. I'm going to be falling asleep on him now.
You get some rest now. You won't stay up late.
Paula will like that. And that is your one headline.
Be sure to listen now at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Google Podcasts. Download the app and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. Gene the Barber has been in the business of making you look good for more than 20 years. Kids cuts, adult cuts, men and women, Gene has the experience and style you're looking for. Contact Gene the Barber for an appointment by calling him direct, 240-687-7253. Our producer uses Gene the Barber and he's available for your next barbershop visit as well. Call 240-687-7253 and tell him Turner and O'Neill sent you.
A Squared Home and Office Solutions is the go-to source for home or office network and audiovisual solutions. We can help with smart home integration, wireless networking, media rooms, security systems, and more. We will link technology to your style seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
The Starting Five is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual home buyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. The Starting Five. Welcome back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. I'm your host. We need an extended commercial break, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm your host, Kurtis Cross, and I'm with Coach Steve Turner, Coach Casey O'Neill, and of course, our engineer is DJ Krissy. We are up to our weekly Starting Five questions asked of each coach. They've never heard these questions before, and they each have 30 seconds to answer each question. If they go over their 30 seconds, DJ Krissy, what will happen? Gentlemen, let's do it. Coach Casey, you are up first. Name a non-coaching moment when you were incredibly proud of yourself.
Non-coaching moment, incredibly proud.
Yep.
I'm going to go to this weekend. Youngest on a bike, right?
Okay.
She's still learning to ride the bike. Puppy on the leash.
Okay.
Coffee, water, boom. Making it happen. Keeping them all safe.
Did you manage it all?
Keeping them all alive. I'm gonna go with that, and I got the porch organized. I'm going back to the opening segment.
And you were here to talk about it.
Fatherhood is non-coaching is the most thing that I'm proud of. Boom, done.
Coach Turner, non-coaching moment where you were incredibly proud of yourself.
I mean, we could go to like a fraternity party too. I could think back.
Oh, Lord. I got to keep my mind out of the gutter.
All right.
What? What?
Definitely a couple years ago losing 100 pounds.
There.
Boom. There you go.
Mic drop.
Coach Turner, coming back to you. In your lifetime, which pro team will you bet will never win a title?
Doesn't matter what sport.
Nope. Doesn't matter what sport.
Will never, ever.
In your lifetime. You look like you're ready for this question.
No, that's in the... Oh, I got it. Hate saying this because I love their owner, but Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah. Who you got over there, sir? Any sport pro.
I was thinking NBA. I'm gonna go with football, and I was thinking about the Cleveland Browns, but they're
close, Coach. I don't know, Coach.
I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions.
God, not even the Jaguars.
Look, they got the number one pick. You got your boy Urban Meyer. I like the Jacksonville area. Detroit, look, the Motor City, they work hard up there. The Red Wings have had success. The Pistons, we all know, has had some success.
Right.
The Detroit Tigers have had some success. The Detroit Lions. Oh, man. And I saw something to our beloved Washington football team where they were talking about the 1991 Super Bowl championship. And the Lions are who we played to get into the championship, NFC championship game. And these old school Lion fans were complaining that they think at RFK somebody hosed down the field, so it'd be like muddy and dirty and complaining. And that was our chance because Barry Sanders going to run all over them. We're like, we still put up like 42 on you in a muddy field.
Right. On a muddy field.
I
would go probably Sacramento Kings. I don't think they're going to win one. I don't think they're going to win one for a while.
How about the Pelicans? They might, but just the name. A Wizards name.
Coming your way, sir. Which team in the tourney right now would you want to coach?
NCAA men's basketball?
No, the Frozen Four. Yes.
Well, it could be women's. I don't know.
Can you answer the question, Hollywood?
I would like to coach. I think it'd be fun to go blue. Speaking of Michigan, of Detroit, but
right.
I think it'd be fun to coach the Wolverines. My sister went there. Your boy Terrence is up there. I think it'd be fun to coach those guys.
What about you? What team do you want to coach in the tourney right now?
And the team that plays the way that I like to see the game get played.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, right. I was thinking that, but
Gonzaga. It's selfless, unselfish. They care about each other. They play the way that their coach asked them to play. They defend as a team. No one cares about who gets the accolades. Gonzaga would definitely be the team that I'd love to coach.
I definitely agree with that. I didn't say it because we coach, but they play defense. Everyone gets a touch on that team.
The ball doesn't stick. There are no black holes.
They move the ball. They move and shake, huh?
Taking the best shot.
All right, coming back to you, sir. What would you want to get, who would you want to get into the studio with to record a song?
Crazy that you say this, but I can't. It would never happen.
Right.
Ooh.
It could be a ballad. It could be hip hop. It could be R&B, country, whatever you want.
Can we get a couple?
Okay.
I'm stuck to one.
Is this Turner and O'Neill?
Yeah, it's Turner.
All right. You have a Turner and O'Neill?
Yeah.
Well, you get to say so.
All right. I'm going with two.
All right.
Y'all know the one. Hall & Oates.
Right.
All day long.
All right.
But his death was today 23rd. Today 23rd.
22nd.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Today is his death. Fife Diggy. Tribe Called Quest, baby.
There you go. Who are you recording with, sir?
Country music, Mr. Eric Church.
Eric Church.
That's who I'm in there with. Although I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but every month there's a different band that I kind of just go back to.
Okay.
Whether it's like a Hall & Oates or whether it's like
Air
go back to like Dave Matthews.
I see you with Air Supply.
This is going to surprise some people, but I've been listening to a lot of Fleetwood Mac.
Don't stop thinking
That's
about
one of them,
tomorrow.
but the hits that they have, I go back to YouTube.
Their greatest hits is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and the dynamic. I know they've done documentaries on them, but that one is crazy. But I think collectively when they sang together, Stevie Nicks, Christine McVie, and Lindsey Buckingham, and the other they got the best sound. I would love to.
Fleetwood Mac makes me think of the band who sold the only album to ever sell more records domestically than Thriller was what?
Wait, you just said, the band.
Thriller sold more records worldwide than anything, but domestically there's one album that beat Thriller. Greatest Hits by the Eagles.
Yes.
Eagles' Greatest Hits sold more domestically.
You ever seen that documentary? It's a two-parter.
No, I haven't.
Oh, man. That is a really good documentary. And to see where Glenn Fry, where he comes from. Speaking of the Motor City, Don Henley.
There you go, Don
Henley. And those
Henley.
are the two. They took over that band. But Glenn Fry learned from Bob Seger. Shocker, another famous.
Right.
Don Henley learned from, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but old country guy with the beard.
Willie?
Not Willie Nelson. Give me somebody. You got to know when to hold 'em. He sings that song. No when. Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
That's who those guys learned from. Wow. And oh, by the way, Jackson Browne was their roommate when they were out in L.A.
Wow.
Get out.
He lived and so they kind of learned songs from him, and a long story. Eagles that's a good one.
All right. Last question goes to you first. You are guaranteed to get the correct answer to one question. What question do you ask? Any one question in the world, but you're guaranteed to get the correct answer. And it can't be who shot JR.
One question and one question only. I'm gonna defer. I want to think about this for a second.
All right. You get your second. Sir, The answer to any question, it will be answered correctly and accurately. What question do you ask?
What it would be to Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
What made you go stand out in front?
Okay.
I'm still drawing a blank here. Go
Ooh,
ahead.
let's go,
Krissy.
DJ. DJ
Krissy, you can
Krissy,
jump.
what you
Look,
got?
you're the engineer. You can jump in
Yes,
whenever
jump
you want.
in.
You got a mic, girl.
I do have a mic. How fun is that? I get to jump in on the episode. So my answer or my question is, what are the winning numbers to the lottery?
All right.
All right.
That's a good one. I didn't think about that.
I'm with you on that one.
Yes.
Especially as I need to look at my tickets.
And he
'cause
said they will be correct.
Yes, they would. You get one question. Krissy, you cracked the case with that one.
Hey, that's a good one. That's a darn good
I
one.
mean, I want to know from Dr. King.
Yes, I'm taking that right there. I actually was going to go there.
It's something like that.
But I you
You wanted to make it in depth. You wanted to hit close.
yes,
I
but
get you.
I'm with you on that one all the way.
What are the winning numbers?
A million different things went through my head. What do women really want? You see those things. How can I be a better listener? But I've met my grandparents, except for my mother's father.
Okay.
Never met him. And I would just love to be able to ask him just one question. And I know that doesn't fully answer it, but I never met him.
It's your answer,
I'm
though.
Richard. Richard's my first name, and he's Richard Willis. My question would just be, how are you?
Why are you so darn good looking? Is that what you're going to ask him?
He was a good dude, but never met him.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your starting five. The starting five. O'Neill Development is a custom builder in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore. Recognized nationally as a premier builder, O'Neill Development has received awards for historic restoration and urban infill work. Committed to best practices in green building, O'Neill Development also provides support in budgeting, architect selection, and design development during the critical stages of planning. O'Neill Development, building, remodeling, and development since 1975. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
Body and Beyond Wellness is acupuncture and wellness consulting. Our peaceful oasis is nestled just outside the Washington, D.C. Beltway. Our acupuncture treatments, workshops, and other wellness offerings will have you feeling restored, renewed, and revived. A limited appointment schedule is now available, but you must call in advance to schedule. Call 301-758-7980 or visit www.thebodyandbeyond.com for more info. This segment of Take It To Yo with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by...
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Current social distancing does not allow for event gatherings in the traditional sense. When it's time to plan your bar bat mitzvah, office party, Sweet 16, or any event, we've got your party solution. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event experts. Our virtual events division has perfected an entertainment experience like none other. We bring the celebration to you. Contact us for virtual trivia, office parties, nightclub nights, or any event. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event solution. Visit www.mapdja.com or call 301-942-4500.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To Yo with Turner and O'Neill.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the line with us today is Tarik El-Bashir. Having spent the past 2 decades covering Georgetown men's basketball, the Washington football team, and prep sports, he is now the senior writer covering the Washington Capitals for The Athletic. Tarik has also written for the New York Times and the Washington Post, as well as NBC Sports Washington. A graduate of Good Counsel High School here in Montgomery County, and he is a fellow Howard University Bison, here to take it to you with us today. Please welcome Mr. Tarik El-Bashir. Tarik, we want to thank you for joining us today. How's it going, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you guys reaching out.
Absolutely. And we have Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill here. Gentlemen, please greet Mr. El-Bashir.
Tarik, Steve Turner here, man. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. We appreciate you.
Of course. It's been a long time. Great to hear your voice, Steve.
Likewise.
Tarik, Casey O'Neill here. I work with Coach Turner at Gonzaga. I coach lacrosse, but I'm a big fan of yours, and I'm excited to ask a couple questions. And thanks for joining us today, my friend.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Tarik, I've read your work over the years, and the common theme I have found is that unlike some reporting, your interest seems to be in accuracy and delivering as much potent information to your readers as possible. When it seems like shock headlines dominate the world of sports, please tell us about your signature reporting. Like I said, you're interested in going in depth and giving us accuracy instead of being first in line all the time. Tell us where that comes from.
You know, it's funny you say that because I was talking to a group of journalism students not so long ago, and I was trying to emphasize that point that, you know, I was told at a relatively young age in this business, you know, there's two types of reporters. There's sledgehammers and there's scalpels. Be a scalpel. They stick around longer. And that always really stuck with me. And I think, it's rare these days for a reporter to stay in one city, especially the city you grew up in. And I've just been really, I'm proud and really, frankly, excited that I've been able to stay here for 2 decades. And part of the reason is, like you said, I feel like I build relationships with people, and I cover them hard, but I cover them fairly, and therefore I haven't been run out of town yet. That can happen in other markets, and I'm not saying that I'm buddy with the people I cover. I'm not. I mean, I'll hear it after I write a critical article from them, and at the same time, I feel like there's respect there. I understand and respect what they're going through. But at the same time, when you're a pro athlete and you're not performing, I have to point that out, and I try to get to the reasons why that might be happening. And again, it just comes down to, I guess, the way I was kind of brought into this business. And I had some great mentors at a young age at the New York Times. Bill Rhoden, the famous columnist, and others really just kind of took me under their wing in my young 20s, and that was really the style of the New York Times, and I think I was just fortunate to be able to kind of start at a young age there and kind of be molded by some of the best in the business.
Oh, thanks for that, sir.
Tarik, Coach O'Neill here. Actually, coincidentally, I was a journalism major in college at Lehigh University. Loved being a journalism major. Just meeting kids from the other sports, the coaches, and just being sort of versatile and understanding what other teams are going through. So I just wanted to say that and brag about myself for a second that I took journalism. But talk to the folks about The Athletic a little bit, if you don't mind, because it's relatively new. 2016, I believe The Athletic started. Yep. And so many darn good writers like yourself and reporters have transitioned to The Athletic. A lot of them here locally that I've followed for years. But if you could kind of give sort of a rundown of what makes The Athletic so great and why so many writers are headed that way.
Well, it's a subscription-based business, and I feel like media, especially print media, is moving in that direction. And they were kind of I don't want to say at the forefront, but they were one of the first to really embrace it and, commercial-free coverage. Mm-hmm. And I think they also the type of reporting that they wanted to do. They didn't want the folks, like you were saying at the outset, they didn't want the hot takes. They didn't want, the people who were just screaming and, hey, look at me. I have this take on this hot subject today. They wanted people who could provide in-depth coverage, at different sports, whether it's baseball, basketball, hockey, football, whatever it is. And they also went to the folks who were already in those markets. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, it's really hard at 35 years old, or you've been a sports writer now for, a dozen years, to go to a new city, maybe a city that you're not from, and try to really capture what fans feel when their team wins or loses, really connect with the coaches and owners and people who've already been there for a long time. So they really tried to go in and get folks who are already established in their markets. And I think it's really paid off in spades. I mean, it's in just the 2+ years I've been there, to see the company's growth, it's really staggering. You know, when they first approached me, I want to say, I'm probably not going to get all these numbers right, but it was a company of 300, 400 people.
Right.
And it's much bigger than that now. It's on different continents. We're covering the Premier League in England. I mean, it's really exploding. And I think that people who are, fans of sports writing, they also need this to succeed, because we've seen that media for the past decade or so, maybe even a little bit longer, has been contracting. Mainstream media, I'm talking about, and you need a website, a news business like The Athletic to succeed if you are a serious fan and you want to know what's going on inside your team, because we've seen reporters at other places get cut. We've seen editors and producers and on-camera folks get cut. The Athletic's adding people. I mean, if you go to our website right now, it'll say, we're looking for editors and social media people. Apply. This is a great place to work. So while other big institutions are kind of pulling back, we're still expanding. And, we recently went over 1 million subscribers. I mean, I can see on a daily basis my subscriber base grow. Like I said, I've worked for the New York Times. I've worked for the Washington Post. I've worked for NBC. I've worked for 3 massive companies that treated me well and gave me what I needed to do to succeed. But I will say, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the most fun I've had. For the most part, they've hired a lot of veteran reporters. There are some young folks who are coming in that are being integrated into the system, but they've hired a lot of veteran folks who don't need a whole lot of direction. So it's almost like, I've been here, like I said, for 2+ years. It was, hey, go cover the Capitals and just bring us good stories.
That's
and
awesome.
Bring them as often or as often as you like. You want to write about Alex Ovechkin and some funny stories that former teammates can tell about his rookie season? Go ahead and write about that. You want to write about do a deep dive on analytics and why Peter Laviolette's having success in his first 3 months at the helm? Go ahead and write about that. I've never been told, no, that's a dumb idea, or no, that's not going to sell. It's always, hey, if you think people want to read that, go ahead and do it.
Right. They trust you.
Yeah, and I think that comes from, like I said, they've hired, veteran reporters who work for major newspapers and kind of have an eye for good stories and, don't need a lot of hand-holding and don't need a lot of editing either. At this point, I know what makes a good story. I know when I'm done writing it, whether it's going to be good or not, whether people are going to connect with it or not. They're not all home runs, but I'm able to recognize, and just the support you get from editorial it's amazing. Again, if you find it interesting, go ahead and pursue it and get us a good story.
Tarik, Steve here. Tell me, I mean, you just spoke to it, that you've been with 3 different big groups. Talk about the one thing that you say you took away from each group to make you who you are today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the New York Times is not a place where people in their 20s typically get to start. I was very, very, very fortunate. I was an intern, and I believe someone retired or left at the last minute, and I was finishing up my degree at Howard, and they were trying to get some younger folks on staff, and I was right next to the editor's door when they decided to post a job, and I was first in line and fortunately got it. And it was for me my introduction to being a beat writer in a major city, and I covered the Islanders full time. I covered college hoops. What I took away from that was I was around the best in the business from the start. So I didn't have to unlearn anything. I didn't go develop any bad habits anywhere that I had to go and correct. I was already with the best of the best of the best. And when you're dealing with those folks and you're reading those folks and you're, having drinks with those folks after the big game and you're just picking their brains, which I did as much as I could. It was like I loved my 4 years at Howard, but I probably learned more about journalism in the first 6 months to a year I was at the New York Times than I did at any other point in my career. That was happenstance. I mean, and it's funny as you get older, and Steve, I'm sure you've seen this. Circumstances, performing well in front of the right people if you're an athlete makes the difference. Coming along when a job is open at the right moment makes a difference. You can't plan for everything, and that was just some really good fortune on my part. The Washington Post was where I spent the most of my time. I was there for almost 14 years. Covered the Capitals primarily. Covered high school is how I got to know you, Steve, of course.
Yep.
Covered a little bit of Georgetown hoops. There I was with the best of the best. It was a little bit different though. It was more of a local focus. It was you're focused on Gonzaga and the WCAC, or you're focused directly on the Capitals. It was more of a it was more of an intimate feel in terms. It was more of a family feel there because, again, I grew up in this area, so I grew up reading the folks that I'm now working with, which is really cool, and I'm covering the teams that I grew up cheering for, which has been a challenge actually, because at least the first 2 years, because you try not to sound like a fan when you're writing about the Washington football team and they get blown out by the Giants on a Sunday afternoon. And you're like, you really don't want to. You're trying to keep your professionalism and be unbiased, and you're like, but the guy was wide open. So there were some of those challenges early on. I've since been able to, I can compartmentalize my fanhood and my business now. It's a lot easier. But I learned a ton there, and the reason I left, I left the newspaper business briefly because I had grown up watching television a lot, watching sports on television and watching sideline reporters. And I wanted to just see if there was a fit there. I wanted to see if that's something I wanted to do. So I joined NBC and was there for 6 years, NBC Sports Washington. Yeah. Got to do some sideline reporting on the football team, did some sideline reporting for the Capitals, which was amazing because that was the year that they went and won the championship. Mm-hmm. So that's something I'll never forget. So that was kind of a scratch that I needed to, or an itch I needed to scratch. Had a great time there. And it was funny, towards the end of my second contract there, I kept thinking to myself, you know what, this new athletic thing that I'm starting to read, I'm starting to really dig it. I wonder if I should explore there. And just as I was kind of on the fence, okay, am I going to stick with TV, or am I going to see if there's a fit there with the athletic called and said, we want you. Sign up right now. So, here, sign on the dotted line. Right, and sure enough, it was a new company, and that was, I'm a, husband and father, and joining a new company is a little bit nerve wracking. You're like, they've only been around for a couple of years, but a lot of my colleagues, from around the country had joined and were singing their praises, and I said, okay, what the heck? You only get a chance to do something once, right? I mean, you join a startup one time, and so I did. And again, here it's the freedom to do what you want and follow the storylines that interest you, and you hope that the readers, find them interesting as well. So it's really been a kind of a blessed and charmed life for for me. I haven't had a whole lot of, knock on wood, professional adversity to this point.
Tarik, I wanted to ask you something about the Caps, but you walked right into this next question, so I'm going to go here. As we've discussed with our past guests who are writers and in front of the camera covering DC sports, what does it mean to you to be in this city where you grew up, where the likes of Tony Kornheiser, Michael Wilbon, David Aldridge, Christine Brennan, and others have been so prominent here and had their success locally and nationally? Because these are footsteps you follow in, and it sounds like you're making your own footsteps, but what is that like for you? I mean, someone comes from out of town. Let's say we get a writer from South Carolina or from, Arizona. Like you said moments ago, it's different to, grow up in that city and write about those teams. So you read David Aldridge, you read Christine Brennan and Kornheiser.
Right.
I'm older
Right.
than you, but you probably remember the Redskins bandwagon articles that Kornheiser wrote. Like, what is that like to now you do that writing?
Well, it's amazing, but I got a funny story. So I got to Howard University, and I went to the School of C because the School of Communications is actually easier to get into grades-wise than the School of Business. I went to good counsel, and my grades weren't great. I spent a lot of time playing sports and having fun, and I had to start at the School of C because that was the school that would take me. And so I get in and I go to Journalism 101. I mean, that was literally one of my first classes, my first semester. And a guy named Mike Wilbon came in, and he had this really cool suit, and he was carrying this little like briefcase. And he gets up there, and of course I had read him, growing up. So I'm like a fan, listening to, hanging on every word. And by the time he was done talking, I'm talking 30, 40 minutes, I was like, that is what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing. I get to fly to all these amazing cities, cover sports, hang out with athletes, write stories about their life. This is what I'm going to do. And so, I mean, honestly, it was in the span of 45 minutes, I made up my mind. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life coming into that classroom that day. When I left, I knew what I wanted to do. I went up to Mike and I said, Mike, I know you don't know me, but I've been reading you my whole life. I was like, how do I do what you do? He opened his wallet, handed me a card to the Washington Post, Mike Wilbon, wrote his personal cell phone in the back. He said, give me a call in about a week. I'm going on the road. I got some NBA stuff to deal with here. Give me a call in about a week. So sure enough, I called him about a week later, and he set me up with the sports editor, longtime sports editor, George Solomon, at the Post. And that's how it all started. I mean, I literally called George Solomon. He said, oh, yeah. So Mike was telling me you were going to call. Meet me at the Post on Monday, and we'll get you signed up, and you can start covering high schools and country club golf, and we'll have you doing photocopies and getting coffee for folks. You'll be a news aide.
There you go.
And that was that was my junior year at Howard. That's how it all started, and it was because of Mike Wilbon. But you're right. I mean, it's amazing that I was mentioned in the same breath as so many folks. I did grow up reading Kornheiser and his bandwagon column. And remember the column that he used to write of his New Year's column? I think it might have run on December 31st or even January 1st. That was just, looking ahead and looking back. Yep. You were just in tears by the time you were done reading it, right? And 2 years into my career, or 3 years into my career when I had joined the Post after a couple years at the New York Times, I'm sitting in an office right next to you guys. I'm talking to them. I mean, Tony knows my name. I always tell people I saw PTI before PTI existed.
Yeah, you did.
Mike Wilbon's office and Tony Kornheiser's office were separated by about 4 feet, and my desk was about 6 feet from them. So they were in offices that were, they were enclosed in glass, but there was a door. And so I would hear them yelling at each other while they were writing their column for the next day's paper, just arguing over, whatever it was, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Redskins, whatever the argument was that day. And I could just hear it going back and forth. And I was, and so when they finally signed up to do that ESPN deal, I was like, I literally have been witnessing this for the last 10 years. And now they're going to put it on television. This is awesome. It's going to work. So yeah, I just, again, to be able to cover sports in the town where you grew up cheering for the team, you already knew the big shots in the media. I mean, it's just been an ideal situation for me, and I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can. But I couldn't imagine at this point, in my career, going to another city and trying to cover the teams there. Part of the fun for me is when I write a story, I can talk about Ole Kolzig and Brendan Witt and Peter Bondra. I can mix that into my story for that day because I saw those guys, right? I grew up watching them. Yeah. So that adds a little bit of depth and context to your stories that, a person who didn't grow up in Washington, they wouldn't know that looked like something that Peter Bondra did 15, 20 years ago. So that kind of adds another layer of sophistication to your writing, and, it makes it more fun for me. Hopefully it makes it more fun for the writers. So, yeah, it's just been a great experience.
So, Coach O'Neill here again, and quick story on Mike Wilbon. My senior year of high school, I actually went to Gonzaga, and my buddies and I did the typical prank with the Go Gonzaga Beat St. John's banner. You know, they do them around the city, and we did it at RFK Stadium. It was a Monday night game. It was the Washington football team and the Giants. And second quarter, we hung this 4-king sheet, huge banner, and we dropped it down. It said Go Gonzaga Beat St. John's. Unfortunately, it covered Jack Kent Cooke's press box. But the next Washington got pounded by the Giants. But the next day, Wilbon wrote, and the biggest, and I quote, the biggest and best banner unfurled at RFK was Go Gonzaga Beat St. John's. And we're like, oh my gosh. And then it goes ... Too bad neither can beat DeMatha.
Ooh.
And he wrote that. I'll never forget it. But I am a huge Washington Capitals fan as well, and remember what the city, what it was like to go see them at old, US Arena. It was Cap Center before that, and then here they come, and thankfully the Polands and the city put in what was MCI Center, and then it was Verizon, and now it's Capital One Arena. But I'm convinced, and Steve and I were talking about this today, and you've seen it from such a close window. But I'm convinced that Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals, and Steve will say, and the Mystics' success as well, has literally transformed, number one, youth hockey in this area forever. That pick of Alex Ovechkin. And secondly, I'm convinced that the economy in that part of the city of Chinatown, with the restaurants and the vibe that it is, I think it started with the Caps. Now, Steve said the Mystics as well, because the Wizards have been up and down over the years. I just want to know your thoughts on that. Watching that part of the city come together, and then to see it all sort of hit that ceiling in 2018, that summer, of watching what those streets were like with that Stanley Cup. But what was it like to just follow them and see the transformation of this city over the last, whatever it's been, 14, 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, we call it the Alex Ovechkin effect. I grew up playing hockey in Montgomery County, in the 80s. And there weren't many teams, and there weren't many rinks, and there definitely weren't many people who looked like me. Right now, as I talk to you guys, I'm sitting in my car at the Prince William Ice Center waiting for my 16-year-old, or I guess now 17-year-old, to get off the ice. He's got a private lesson with a coach that's helping him work on some stuff. And the parking lot is completely full right now. And there are kids of all colors getting dressed. Because of COVID, they don't get dressed inside anymore. They're getting dressed at their parents' cars. There's a Hispanic kid to my left right now. I wish you could see this. There's a black kid to my right. There were a couple of white kids who just walked in. You didn't see this number or this type, this diverse a crowd playing hockey in this area. The Prince William Ice Center didn't exist. The Ashburn Ice House didn't exist. I think Reston had just come online when I was playing, but that's the direct result of having a guy, a generational talent, show up in 2005 in the Washington area, break the boards literally on his first shift as the Washington Capitals. He literally broke the glass, if you remember correctly. Yep. Scored 2 goals as a rookie in that first game. And people looked at that television and went, oh, so this is what the Post has been talking about. I don't know what that is, but I want my kids to do that. Right. That looks pretty awesome. Right. And hockey went from this little niche sport that rich kids in Potomac played to more of a inclusive game in DC. And you look at the number of rinks that have come online since Alex Ovechkin joined the Capitals, and how many teams there are, and how many different levels. I mean, you look at just the kids who were born in the year he came to DC. So 2004, 2005, 2006, one of those kids that were born in the DC area, right when he had those first few magnificent years. Right. A lot of those kids from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, those kids are going to be playing Division I hockey at some point, because all of a sudden, some of the best athletes were now getting pulled into hockey, as opposed to just being people who were, I mean, I played hockey way before Ovechkin, obviously. I played hockey because my family became friends with a family that had just moved next door to us from Buffalo, and hockey was already in their culture and in their blood, and I got introduced to it that way.
Wow.
So there was always hockey in this area, but it was because of transplants from up north. Now people who were actually Virginians and Marylanders and from the district, they were starting to they started gravitating towards Ovechkin and then hockey, and then how do I get my kids involved? And I think you're going to see, and this is not a new phenomenon, guys. This has happened in every non-traditional market where there's been a championship and some success. You look at Pittsburgh back when they had Mario and Yager. You look at the kids who were born in those years. Pittsburgh started turning out NHL players 20 years later. That's not by mistake. Wayne Gretzky goes to L.A., and now all of a sudden, the sons and daughters of Hollywood actors are now making hockey teams and starting to move up the food chain and make paychecks playing hockey. I'm trying to think of some other places. Florida has become a hotbed for hockey. Those teams had some runs. Tampa Bay had some runs. Mm-hmm. They've won 2 championships, including the last one. The Florida Panthers got to the finals a couple of times. So so what's happening in DC isn't just specific to this area, but when we look back a few years from now, and there's a couple of NHL players and some Division I top players and some guys on that USA hockey team, and you're like, he's from Rockville? He's from, Alexandria? How did that? It's the Alex Ovechkin effect. Those guys wouldn't have done this if Alex hadn't come here, pulled new people into the sport, and then eventually won a championship. Now, you can make the argument he should be working on championship 3 or 4 right now. Okay. He did get one, okay? This team waited a long time to win a championship, and he delivered it. It's all because of him.
Amazing. I love that answer. Coach Turner.
Let's stay with hockey. Talk to us in what you think the effect of the bubble is playing on the NHL right now.
Sorry, you cut out there for a second, Steve.
I said, talk to us in what you believe the effect of the bubble, the way that hockey is set up for this season, is playing an effect on the game right now.
Yeah, it's not great. It started out with the players were basically told, "Hey, be careful. We're going to test you every day, but be careful. But live your lives the way you want to." And then remember about a month and a half ago, people were looking around going, is the NHL even going to finish their season?
Right.
Because there were like 50 guys on the COVID protocols list on different teams. And, if I remember correctly, the Devils, like their whole team was either had COVID or were contact traced and were not able to participate. And I mean, there was a couple of 3 or 4 days there where I was like, they might have to hit the pause button on this season and restart at a later date. And what they did was they clamped down even more. They said, hey, listen, we're going to start testing your family. Guys, stop going out to the grocery stores if you don't have to. This is a big sacrifice we're asking of you. But we need to play this season and make some money until we get to the stage where we can start bringing fans back into the building and people start getting vaccinated and we get back to normalcy, hopefully next season. And the guys bought in. And you look at the COVID protocols list today, it actually just came out while we were talking, so I haven't seen it. But I bet there's like 3 or 4 dudes on it now, as opposed to 2 full teams and like 5 or 6 guys on other teams. I mean, the Capitals had 4 key guys, so all the Russians had it, or 2 had it and 2 were contact free. So I mean, it was dicey there, Steve, for a little bit. But to the NHL's credit, they course corrected, mid disaster. And avoided hitting the iceberg. They steered clear, and it looks like things are going to be pretty smooth sailing all the way through the Stanley Cup final. And you just hope that it keeps moving in this direction, and there's not another variant that starts getting people sick again, and they're able to get to. I think if you get to July, August, right when training camp starts to kind of training camps are in September. You get to 60-70% of the U.S. population vaccinated by then, I think we have a mostly normal season starting next season.
Cool. One more question from me. I'm going to take you back to the Washington Post. Tell me who was your favorite athlete to cover and why.
Are we talking prep?
I'm talking high school sports.
High school sports, man. I haven't thought about that in so long.
He's big time. He didn't think about that.
No. It just doesn't come up that much.
Who was someone? Who was someone?
Travis Garrison. Travis Garrison was
a good one.
A beast high school basketball player. He was really fun to watch. Elijah Brooks in football was a lot of fun to watch. I know I'm going to forget somebody who went on to have an amazing pro career. I always had fun covering stuff at Gonzaga. I just love the football field with the city in the background. You guys usually lost to DeMatha, though.
Whoa!
Let's make this clear right now. Let's make this clear right now. We beat them on the regular. Now they just had us up 17-0 and took an L, and then that place up there in Albany that you went to just took one 28-0 this weekend. No. So we know who the beast is now.
Okay.
Oh, you got Steve fired up. He just jumped out of his chair.
Tariq, look, Tariq. I am a public school guy. I don't have a dog in this fight. Yeah. So those two are on your bad side, not me. Yeah, I still want tickets one day if I can get them.
And so I went to good counsel, and my son for a year went to O'Connell.
Nice.
So because I was out in Virginia, but yeah, I to answer your question, there were so many good guys, but I mean, I just remember those. I was still covering sports, prep sports, in the last couple of years of the Wooten era when it transitioned. And then Steve, you were coaching.
I was assistant.
The Gonzaga hoops team. Yeah, and Wooten's son was coaching O'Connell, and they got good. I want to say, I don't know in the grand scheme where that ranks, but WCAC hoops and football on a Friday night, hoops on a Friday, Saturday, whenever it was, when those gyms were packed. I mean, that stuff mattered.
Pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun. I had fun covering some PG County high school basketball was good too, but there was something about the WCAC. There was something about those Gonzaga DeMatha hoop games at that small arena in Hyattsville or at Gonzaga, or sometimes when you got to play at bigger places because you knew the fan demand was going to be better or bigger. That's most fun. And sorry to go off on a tangent here, but I'll tell you, covering high school sports is so important for young journalists. You do that first before you do. So I started with pros and had to come back to high school. You're so much better reporter for covering high schools. And it helps you with your covering pros and colleges because you have to call the coach to do your pregame. You got to look up rosters. You got to look up the numbers yourself. You learn how to become a better reporter covering high schools. And I wish if I could do it all over again, I would have started with covering prep and then gone on to the pros.
Love it. Thank you.
Again, Mr. El-Bashir, I'm Kurtis. I am the producer. I don't have a dog in that private school fight, so they're the ones talking the trash. You and I are fellow Bison. Remember, I'm a Bison too. All right, so don't bring don't bring me the heat. So look, we have something here called the starting five. I ask each coach 5 questions that they've never heard before, and they each have 30 seconds to answer. If they go over their 30 seconds, DJ Krissy will let them know by sounding the bell. Now, I'm only going to ask you one question, but you're on the clock for 30 seconds. My question to you is follows. Okay. From the Mystics to the Caps, Washington football to the Wizards, which fan base is most ready for another world title?
Another world title. So I can't go with the Washington football team because they've been even though they made the playoffs this year at 7-9, they've been in decline. I think they're going to need a couple of good years, a couple of playoff years to kind of bring everyone back. I'm going to go Capitals because I feel like they won one in 2018. They're at the dawn. The window is closing for the Alex Ovechkin era. I think everyone in the city feels like he deserves to have 2. Simply because, one, people can always go, oh, that was kind of a fluke. If you win 2 in the span of 3 years, it's no longer a fluke. So I'm gonna go Capitals for that reason. A little sentimental, but for that reason.
All right,
Preach.
we can accept
Preach,
that.
baby.
We can
We
accept
love
that. Well, Tarik, we truly thank you for joining us today. We love bringing in local talent. In your case, we love your work and are thrilled you joined us. Please tell our listeners and viewers how they can connect with you via social media.
You can connect with me on Twitter. I'm just Tarik _El-Bashir. I try to respond to everyone's messages and tweets. You can find me there. I'm on Instagram, but I don't check that nearly as much. Same name, Tarik _El-Bashir. But Twitter is your best bet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, taking it to you with us today, the senior writer for the Washington Caps, Good Counsel alum and fellow Bison alum, Mr. Tarik El-Bashir. Thanks, Tarik.
Hey, Tarik, thanks, man. Appreciate you for coming on.
Hey, you guys can give me a call anytime. Always got time for you guys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
fella.
Take care, Tarik.
Sure.
Y'all let me go this whole interview calling him Tarik instead of Tarik. I'm putting that on you, Hollywood.
Why on me?
I'm putting that on you because you knew I was making a mistake and you didn't correct me. Krissy, let's have a word from our sponsors, please. Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By advertising with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. In Season 1, we reached a total of more than 100,000 listeners, viewers, subscribers, and website visitors combined. Your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Advertising with Turner and O'Neill equals exposure on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and more than 15 listening platforms total. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
Let's get social. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and then click subscribe. This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Ray P. Cruz, Mortgages Intelligently. We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Submit Your Idea.
the Tamara Cusick Team. Ready, set, sold. Real estate is more than just houses. It's about people too. The Tamara Cusick Team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. The Tamara Cusick Team isn't just a partner. They literally sold us the home where the Take It To You broadcasts from each week. Visit www.tamara4homes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. We are back with Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. Thanks for listening and watching as we enjoy meeting you here each week. Gentlemen, it's always great to welcome a local talent to the podcast. Both of you mentioned Tarik as someone who you'd want to have on the podcast. Your thoughts?
I love when we bring local talent onto the podcast,
Right?
And to hear their story, how they started, who influenced them, and
He's grabbing coffee for people.
you know, it's and then just to see them make it. I mean, he's a local guy. Went to Good Counsel High School, and he's up there with the big dogs, and he's getting it done. I mean, and then to see him do it at different levels, like he said, young journalists, listen, don't be afraid to start off at the high school level and learn the ropes. He did it the opposite way, but to be able to put yourself out there and have Michael Wilbon set you up because you just asked the question. Sometimes people are afraid to ask questions
because
they get starstruck. You just got to ask. These is as much as these people are in the limelight, they also want to help people. So don't be afraid when you have that opportunity to open your mouth. You don't know what you can get from asking the question.
Here's the thing, and I know you're correct because I haven't seen you on the sidelines, O'Neill. I've seen you on the sidelines, but I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts that if some 22-year-old graduated from college and said, hey, Coach Turner, I've seen you play for years, what can I do to get in the game? I mean, whether you have an opening on your staff or not, or O'Neal, you're like, look, come out to a couple of our games. Let's sit down afterwards and, we'll chop it up a little bit. Because, when you get to that point, you want to reach back and help people. And, you might see you in that young man or you in that young man,
I pretty much have an open door policy for those who want to come and watch our practices.
All right.
To see what they can learn. Certainly I get a lot of calls about people wanting to join the staff, and there's years where you don't have any room.
Right.
But I'm more than welcome to allow people to come and see what we do and sit down and chop it up and ask questions.
Well, you've seen my sideline. I keep it live. I'll take it.
They're live, man.
You get a lot of people.
How many folks you got on your staff over there?
9.
Okay.
9. Right. Different positions.
You got room for a podcast producer?
Love it. Come on in. If you bring energy, you're good to the kids. Let's go.
He gave me a year on the sideline with him.
Yeah, Steve came. He traveled with us. So back to the interview.
Yeah, sure.
When we think about the reporters that have been on here, it's kind of cool to have that, whether it's Christy Winter Scott, and she does coaching, but she also does the
A10.
It does a lot of different things.
A10. What is she?
She's on NBC Sports.
Big Ten Network, yeah.
She was on NBC Sports. Chick Hernandez, Scott Abraham, and now today, it's so cool. And when I've heard, I hear him on the radio stations all the time. I follow him on NBC Sports just because I'm a huge Caps fan. He's a professional. He is absolutely outstanding. Sledgehammer or scalpel? He was the scalpel.
I'm going to have to use that.
Take it. That might be good for the kids.
Right.
You going to do your homework like a sledgehammer, or are you going to like a scalpel? Take your time.
Well, here's the thing with all of those folks that we've brought on. Each one of them, it took us no time to get them on the show. You're right.
They're professional. Call, boom, boom.
Yeah, Christy Winter Scott. I'd love to be on the show. You got Abraham on the show. Chick Hernandez. That was a no-brainer. And I mean, you called this guy and you said, "Look, I'm going to see if I can get Tarik on the show." 10, 15 minutes later, you're texting us saying he's going to be on the show. And they want to tell their story. They're journalists, so by nature, they're social people. But I think this brings a great element to the show where people can hear their story and know, like you said, young journalists out there, or anyone who wants to do something, you got to put yourself out there. Ask the questions, rub elbows, put yourself in the same room. At least get in the room, right? Yeah. Get in the room, go to a seminar where Michael Wilbon is speaking, right?
But I had questions to ask in terms of, hey, what would be your? And he was very thorough in his answer. He's kind of answered it because he's so on point and talking about.
I couldn't even ask one of my questions. He answered it in another question.
He was. I wanted to go a different way. Boom, and then he navigated right into it. It's just so thorough and professional. And look, I could have asked him 100 questions. I want to talk about Nick Backstrom and Evgeny Kuznetsov and the goalie situation and the coaching changes and what were these guys
like. Can we talk about Rod Langway?
We can talk
about
back
in the day.
Yes, sir.
That's back in the day.
Speaking of mustaches, that's a nice mustache on that guy.
No helmet.
That's right.
There's a lot changed, but how cool is it for him who grew up playing hockey, and the hockey wasn't the most popular sport? And I just love that Alex Ovechkin effect. I mean, it is a literal effect on this city. Even if you're not a huge hockey fan, it's the real deal. And you mentioned that point about Wayne Gretzky going to the LA Kings. You think about in the Pittsburgh area.
What did he say about Buffalo? He did reference Buffalo, didn't he?
How he got into hockey.
Yeah.
It was a neighbor moved in.
Oh, that's right. From Buffalo. That's right.
Buffalo.
There it is,
They played some hockey up there.
Oh, they do.
Buffalo. Remember, we go back to those championships, and it's not going to be the Bills.
Are they playing hockey right now in Buffalo?
Because the Sabres.
Are they playing hockey in Buffalo? Because their record is god awful right now.
The Sabres.
Is that what they're playing? Go Bills!
Sabres.
Go Bills! All right. Well, we are so thankful that we had Mr. El-Bashir. Folks, we just do a little podcast here. That's all we do, and we have a lot of fun with it. So glad to have had him on the show. We are coming right back with our weekly sports wrap-up. DJ Krissy. Let's do it. Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neal Podcast, on Twitter at Turn-On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neal, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerandoneal.com. Today's episode is sponsored by Ray P. Cruz, Mortgages Intelligently.
Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock, 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill can be found on more than 15 podcast platforms. Listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, Spotify, and other popular podcast platforms. Tune in on your preferred podcast platform. Be sure to listen, subscribe, and spread the word. Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill records weekly with episode drops each Thursday at 11 a.m.
At Peace Players, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities in conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. We bridge divides between people through the game of basketball, and we develop young leaders who help to change perceptions. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
Insurance Alliance Group manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property loss. Request a free claim review with the property loss professionals. Insurance Alliance Group. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill.
Welcome back to Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. This week's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Now, our weekly sports wrap-up. Gentlemen, March Madness, the men's tourney, what a weekend we had in the men's tourney. Coach Turner, what did you expect? What surprised you? And where did your bracket get busted? If it did.
To get points, it got busted all over the place. But in terms of who I felt would get there or be there in the end, I still got 3 dancing.
You feel pretty good.
2 in the Sweet 16. I think the third will get there tonight. But what I expected is kind of what has really happened. Veterans in a COVID year where there's not regular practices, teams in regular routines. The teams that are older, mature, vested, and who have played together for a while are a lot more cohesive. They're able to do the things they need to do. They're adjusting better on the fly, and they're winning games.
Instead of having a bunch of freshmen who are not used to each other, right?
Yep.
And who don't know where the other one likes the ball and all that kind of thing.
Yep. You're seeing the teams that are older get W's, and so you're seeing the higher seeded teams are knocking off these younger, lower seeded teams.
Coach O'Neill, I see your Loyola Chicago Ramblers, along with Sister Jean, are making you look good, fella. What's your take on this wild weekend we had in tournament action?
It's fun to root for another Jesuit school.
Because you called Loyola.
Said they'd make a little bit of a run. And I still think the other Jesuit school, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, this is their year, and we've mentioned it before. My take on all this, and I'm excited for Loyola Chicago to continue this, to prove that 2 years, I think it was 2 years ago, wasn't just this, this
they Final Four?
Because,
because he can coach.
Remember, a school like Gonzaga out there, maybe 15, 16 years ago, very similar. Like, who's this Gonzaga team every year? 1 year they make a run, and then a year or two later they make another run. Because they're not, people say they're not playing teams. They're not playing the big boys, but they will. They'll slowly begin to develop that kind of out-of-conference
like
schedule.
Butler.
My take on this is, as a coach, watching it, after all these kids have been through, all the protocols, all the COVID stuff, everything, shutdowns, games canceled, moved, the highs are so much higher, even though the arenas aren't packed, but you got your families and the close people there. The highs are so much higher, but I'm feeling so bad for those lows and those kids. They've worked so hard.
You and Paula.
They made it.
She's the same way. She's loving the underdog.
We all take for granted the March Madness. That is, we lost it last year, and we take for granted, and now you're seeing it after a year of what's been, And those lows are low. Before you just moved on, man. You know, what's my bracket look like? I'm like, oh, my heart just goes for those kids. On the boys, and
Gators couldn't make it. VCU, they didn't even get to play,
my
right?
bracket, the Illinois, the Fighting Illini, I think I had them. I think I was talking, Michigan's still in it for now. So
And Shaka and his boys couldn't make that thing happen this weekend.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
Shaka.
Yeah, but VCU, for those who don't know.
Well, played one game and then they didn't get to advance.
Right. But you said VCU?
Yeah.
Oh, they did get to play one.
Played the first game, but didn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought okay. All right, and someone, was it Purdue? Who was it who advanced because they couldn't play?
Oregon.
Oregon, okay. Well, we are without surprise on the women's side as all favorite teams and higher seeds won as expected. Well, or lower seeds, the way, depending on if you're half empty or half full. We're just one day in attorney action. And today, I personally am looking forward to the Mount St. Mary's game, which just ended in Maryland, trounced as we thought they would. Rutgers, BYU, Louisville, Marist, and of course, tomorrow's Lady Vols game versus Michigan. No real surprises there, but I do look for the Lady Terps to make some noise and possibly a bit more than just a little bit of noise. By the way, UConn, without Gino, they still dropped 100 points.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the model. They've got the model up there.
BYU just beat Rutgers.
BYU just beat wow. So I can't say her name. Stringer, right? Stringer. She's out. Wow. All right. So rapid fire fashion. Gentlemen, how bad are the Houston Rockets? 20. That's 2-0.
That's bad.
20 losses in a row.
They are rebuild kind of bad.
But they didn't take that position from the beginning.
When I saw this question, I went in there and
they were 11-10. They're now 11-30.
You go to their stats, and Harden, he played 6 games for them before he left. He's still leading.
Stop! I don't want to hear that.
That's how bad it is.
Are you serious?
6 games. He was averaging 27, 28 when he didn't give a you-know-what.
Right.
It's bad.
And now he doesn't even have to do that.
No.
He has to be a distributor. He has to be a facilitator in Brooklyn. But what say you? What say you? 20 games in a row. Millsap is having a time of it.
I feel for some of those guys.
I said Millsap. Silas.
I think it's scrap it, bag it, and break it all the way down and start over.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. So where does that leave John Wall?
Praying that someone will see that he still has talents and is willing to bring him to a team that could win and maybe needs a piece like him to help them win. Because they can't start building over it with him as the centerpiece.
No.
He's going to be 33, 34 next year, maybe.
No.
Yeah, so he's not an Anthony Edwards.
No.
You don't build something off him at this stage in his career. The NFL is planning an in-person draft at the end of this month. What do we think? Limited fans, but what do we think?
They all need to be vaccinated. Apparently, what I heard.
Chris, I didn't get that far into the story.
Everybody's got to have proof that they were vaccinated, which, again, you can be vaccinated and still carry the the disease. But I look, things are opening up a little bit. You got some fans. I think they'll do it the right way.
All right, Coach Turner.
I mean, it'd be nice, but I just hope they do it be smart about it.
All right, odds-on favorite for NBA Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball. Cracked wrist, done for the year.
I thought he was a shoe-in to get it.
Right.
Does
this hurt?
I think it definitely hurts, especially the way Anthony Edwards is starting to play.
Right.
So I think he now will move into the.
But he'll come
to
back.
Be the front runner. No, they say he's probably done for the year.
Oh, he's done for the season.
Done for the season. So
yeah,
if he was going to come back, I would say he still would be my favorite. Right. But with him not coming back at all this year, I think Anthony Edwards has a chance to.
He dropped 42 the other night. Anthony Edwards
to go steal it away.
Okay, all right. Has Deshaun Watson's stock dropped amid allegations? 10 allegations as recently as this month. Is this? I don't want to question whether anything happened. I don't know what happened, but
there's over 20 now.
Yeah,
it's jumped to over 20.
Yeah, I saw that in the last couple of hours. Yeah,
it's a tough situation to talk about because you hope it's not true, but at the same time, it's if it is, I mean that's a lot. That's a lot of people to be coming forward.
Right. If everyone's saying it,
right.
Everyone, and I don't know. I don't. That's not my lane of travel.
Because look, the league's going to get involved, and then you're going to be in Goodell's office, and then what teams were dying to trade for him.
Right. And now that interest has got to be dropping.
Speaking of Houston, we talked about the Rockets and now the Texans in the situation they're in.
The Astros cheat to win World Series, right? So
what's going on in H-Town?
And they had a bunch of snow, and I don't know what's going on in H-Town. I don't know. You got a dog in this fight? What are you thinking?
No dog in this fight.
I just hope everybody.
Whichever way it goes, I just hope they get to the bottom of it and make sure that it's right one way or the other.
Speaking of Deshaun Jackson, he's a Ram now, isn't he? They signed him. Is that worth a headline?
Here's how this is going to play out with him.
Uh-oh.
He's going to 16 NFL games.
He's going to play 3.
Maybe a few more, maybe 7. He'll get a couple of those bombs, but I mean, he's going to, ankle or little twist.
It's always something with him, right?
Yeah, hip injury. He's
always something. Anything y'all need to cover? Did I catch it all?
You got it all, Coach.
We're good. DJ Krissy. Let's hear from our advertisers. Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. Would like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, and Body and Beyond Wellness.
Become a friend of the program. Friendship contributions start at just $25. Each contribution helps to fuel Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill. To find out more or make your contribution, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. The final word is brought to you by
Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual home buyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to You with Turner and O'Neill.
We are back, and now it's time for our final words. Some thanks, and of course, our weekly quote this week. It's my quote. Gentlemen, I have to publicly admit that you know that I'm not a March Madness men's tournament bracket kind of guy, but you guys got me watching this year. So glad I am. I watched 3 or 4 upsets this weekend and just some great hoops. As you said, you know, Paula, for example, loves the upsets, but then of course she's loving that the kids win, and she looks at the guys from Florida. She's like, oh, it's so sad. And my daughter, she's like, why are these guys crying? I mean, you know you can't win them all. I'm like, Chelsea, you don't get it. Some of these guys have played their last meaningful game ever, or it's a band of brothers. You played together for 3 years, and you know that although you'll see each other on Instagram and you can FaceTime, you know, being in the trenches with those guys every single day and knowing that, you know, when I got admitted to the school, you did, and we ran those first suicides together, and we had to, you know, climb those hills and all that, and that's what's coming to an end for a lot of those guys.
To counter that, you've had a similar effect where I'm paying attention more to women's hoops, having a guest like Quentin Hillsman on the podcast, paying attention their stats and what's going on. So back at you.
Right back. It's a bromance. It always comes back to the
I didn't say
Buckaroo
that.
Brothers. The Buckaroo Brothers, baby. You again, no dog in this fight, Steve.
No dog in the fight.
Steve wants to see the stash.
All right. We invite you to become a friend of the program. To do so, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend. If you'd like to build your brand with our audience of thousands, we are now accepting partners, donors, and sponsors for Season 3. Look, I'm going to tell you, we have some great partners, sponsors, and donors. Now is the time to secure your spot for Season 3. So just do it. For as little as $25 per episode, your business can advertise with us each week. In Season 1, we delivered 100,000 listeners and viewers to our advertisers. I imagine we will hit that number this time. So if you want to put yourself in front of 100,000 listeners and viewers, we can do that for you right here. All right? To connect with us socially, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast and on Twitter at Turn On Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get the episode drop alerts. Now, when it comes to where you can listen, we've got you covered. Listen and subscribe on Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast content. Just search Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. We invite you to subscribe so you get the alerts the moment an episode drops. We encourage you to join the conversation as we are a growing community here at Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. So write to us at turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com, and Hollywood will write back to you personally.
Yep.
Before we sign off, thanks to our audience, we are truly humbled that you choose to take it to you with us each week. Thanks to Tarik El-Bashir, this week's guest. I must thank our engineer, DJ Krissy, you two gentlemen, Coach Turner and Coach O'Neill, as well as Paula. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners. We encourage our audience to support those who support us. Krissy, do you have any final thoughts, young lady?
Final thoughts. I think it was a great episode. I really enjoyed Tarik being on the show. It was interesting just to kind of hear how he did things sort of backwards, but it worked out for him anyway.
Right.
One path doesn't always make or break.
What did Big John say? Big John Thompson, many roads lead to Rome. Right?
That's it.
There you go.
There you go. Do your own thing. Make it work.
Did you get his book yet?
No, I've not got his book.
Gotta get that book.
All right. Coach Turner, what say you, sir, about today?
Oh man, I think another great episode. Like DJ Krissy, I just love the story. I like to hear these people's story and how they got to where they are. And you know, there is no one path to get to your dreams. And I think when you work at it, you put your all into it, great things can happen. And we're seeing that happen for him. My only final thought: let's see my man T. Wills in Michigan get it done tonight, so they can move on.
Well, by the time this airs on Thursday, you'll know.
We'll have an answer.
You'll know.
I made a couple of mistakes here in this episode. Number one, we didn't ask you about the pup. We didn't ask you about Cole. So give us a little 90-second digest on that.
I talked about the pup a little bit at the beginning. Cole, I get to go see him. I'm vaccinated, so I'm going to head down there. I'm going to see him safely this weekend, actually.
Awesome.
And the game that they're supposed to play Virginia Tech has been moved around. It's supposed to be in Charlotte. I mean, another thing of COVID. It was supposed to be in Charlotte, and then it's in Spartanburg, and I just want to see my boy. So we're going to go hang out with him. But he's doing great. He's doing really good.
Is the whole crew going?
No, it's too hard. Okay. It's too hard to do that, to get everybody down there, especially with the pup. So the whole crew is going to see him in Raleigh. They're playing NC State right before Easter. So we'll get to spend some time with him. So appreciate you asking.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff.
Thoughts about today's episode, sir?
Look, listen, that's a gentleman who I've followed and listened to, whether it's on radio, whether it's on The Athletic, covering Washington sports teams, and locally. I'm a big fan, in awe of his work. I think he does an incredible job. What I love about all the guests we've had, whether it's somebody who's like DeMaurice Smith, who's the president of the NFL Players Association, to the high school kids we've had on here that are gone, it's just so cool to listen to these people that love what they do. They're just like the rest of us, but they've chosen different paths. And tonight was another great sort of story about that. So, great episode.
All right, so we're about to put the wraps on this episode, but it is my weekly quote, so let's go for it. The only risks in life that you should regret are those you do not take. So don't be afraid to take risks. If you win, you'll be happy. And if you lose, you'll be wiser. DJ Krissy, pull the plug.
Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our advertisers. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without the written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to turnero'neillpodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more than 15 podcast platforms in total. You can also view Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill weekly on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest episode drops. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerando'neill.com. Advertising opportunities are available.